From my heart to yours, namaste. Welcome to Yoga with Dennis. Today I want to talk about my experience with being my own guru and learning to be my own guru. As I've moved through life, I found my greatest happiness was when I was searching for what makes me happy. Not looking to an external guru or teacher to see what makes them happy and trying to reproduce that in myself, but searching for my own happiness. And that has been true in maintaining my body, my spirit, and my mind. On a level of dealing with physical pain, one of the most significant events in my life was falling off a playground slide when I was about 8 years old and landing on my lower back, ripping all the muscles in the lower back and displacing the vertebrae. From that point on, for the next 40 years, I was completely dependent on physical manipulation of my spine to be out of pain. First beginning with osteopaths 3 times a week, then continuing with finding chiropractors work for me, and later Rolfers. Then after 40 years of continually looking to other teachers, to other art forms, I found yoga. The only other time I was briefly out of pain was for a period of 3 years in college when I was dancing 5 times a week, ballet and modern dance. But that was a practice I couldn't maintain when I went to pursue a professional career in mathematics. And I went back to receiving the physical manipulation 2 to 3 times a week to be out of pain. But I kept looking. I kept looking for other teachers. I kept looking for other solutions. And after 40 years, I was blessed to find my yoga teacher who became my found sister, who gave me a gateway to dealing with my spine through Hatha Yoga. I have not had a physical manipulation of my spine in 20 years. I am not in pain as long as I do my practice every morning. The key to doing that was being my own guru, was looking for the things that worked for me. I must have talked to dozens of practitioners who told me what worked for them and who said this was the only thing that would work for me. What eventually worked was what I found for myself. And it wasn't just one teacher. It was several teachers I engaged with who helped me move forward in that path. So part of being your own guru is not surrendering other teachers, but in fact, ruthlessly looking for teachers who can help you find your joy. When you look at a teacher who's found their joy, whether it's yoga or marathon running or swimming or Tai Chi in a physical discipline, their joy is beautiful to behold, and it can be really tempting to believe this must be my joy too. After a long time, I realized, no, it doesn't work that way. I had to test everything myself. I had to make my own judgment. I had to find my own things. And it's in cultivating the body, it is absolutely necessary, I believe, to continue to move throughout a lifetime. I found several physical forms that I moved through that maintained and cultivated my body. And I hope everyone is able to look for things that give them joy. Tai Chi, yoga, swimming, marathon running. It doesn't matter. We need to inhabit our bodies and continue to. And just finding my joy didn't mean that would last forever. I found a profound joy in dance. Then I couldn't do that anymore. And I found a joy in running. And that only lasted for so long. Then I found it in martial arts, in Taekwondo and Aikido. And those lasted their periods of time. So far, yoga has lasted me almost 20 years, and I expect it to last me the rest of my life. But I know that may not be true. Many of us have the honor to pursue careers when we're young that we know can only last for so long. Professional dancers, gymnastics, many other athletes know that the joy they have found in their profession is going to go away, and hopefully they find something else. The trick isn't to find one thing that works. The trick I found was to continue being my own guru constantly throughout my life and always looking for what brings me joy. And when what I'm doing doesn't bring me joy, to look for something else, to not stop, to not give up, to always be willing to try something new. In cultivating my mind, I found that first a deep love of mathematics propelled me through an entire career, but later that didn't bring me joy, and I moved to a study of history, of fiction, of enjoying fantasy, and I was able to once again find a joy that engaged my mind. And in spirit, as a teenager, I truly believed the path for me was the shamanistic path, and I pursued it with great glee and dedication. I wanted to experience physically in my own body that direct connection with the divine, and I found it. I found it in so many forms. And I continue to find it in yoga, but I found it in Tai Chi. I found it in Kiaikido. I found it in other physical forms that would bring me into that connection that involved both movement and meditation and study. That doesn't mean any of these will work for you. But I do believe that the key for all of this for me wasn't that one thing worked or another thing worked, but I never gave up on being my own guru. The times I surrendered my idea of joy to a teacher whose joy was overwhelming or whose charisma and authority was completely seductive, always ended in disappointment, sometimes after a long period of time. As long as a decade in one case, where I pursued a course of academic study with a teacher who was so in love with the advanced form of mathematics that they studied and taught and applied in industry. And I pursued that for almost a decade till I was qualified to do the same things they did. I went as far as getting a PhD in the field. And then I began to work in it, and I realized after some very unfortunate events that there was no joy for me in that. To find joy in what we do to maintain our bodies, in our work, and in our spiritual lives is absolutely essential for me to find any hope of happiness. And the key again for me is to continually study. Study spiritually. Read scripture in whatever path you're looking at or you're on or you've dedicated your life to. When dealing with medical issues, to actually embrace that as an opportunity for learning. When I found myself in the hospital in 2016 with complete kidney failure, as a total surprise because I hadn't been engaging with Western physicians for decades at that point, and when I finally got to the emergency room, I was within 2 weeks of death. I found myself all of a sudden completely surrendering to a system I didn't even really understand. So I found books written for patients with kidney failure by doctors. I found books written about all the different treatment forms available. I read them, I studied them, I learned the medical technology, the language of medicine for what I was dealing with so that I could actually have conversations with my doctors in their terms. And something magic happened. I was collaborating with my doctors. I wasn't listening to their advice. I was participating in actually crafting that advice. I had become my own guru for my own medical care. It allowed me to make what for me were the very best choices in moving forward. They kept me abundantly healthy and engaged in joy in my body all the way through the 3.5 years before I could receive a kidney transplant. And then with deep, deep gratitude to my donor, moving forward and moving through recovery, using yoga, using study, using meditation, using everything at my disposal to move forward, always moving forward. I really sincerely believe that at every point in my life, my health is either improving or disproving. It never stands still. It is either moving forward to a point of greater health, greater strength, greater flexibility, or backwards, losing those things, moving away from joy for me. And yes, really traumatic things happen in our lives. My kidneys failed. I had heart disease. My back was destroyed. And after those things, yes, I lost a lot. But moving forward, I got up, and then I found that I could move my body forward. I could move my heart forward from where I was. Always starting from where I was, always accepting where I was, but always believing there was a chance to feel better, to feel happier, to have more. I loved, in order to propel myself through that, to look at the stories of people who've overcome incredible things. One of my yoga teachers is a paraplegic who, after completely losing control of the lower half of his body in a tragic automobile accident, moved on over a period of decades to become a yoga teacher, to run a yoga studio for fully able people, and also to work with paraplegics, quadriplegics, and others who were facing physical challenges. He understood because he'd been there and he did it. He got married. He had children. He discovered great joy in his life despite an almost insurmountable problem. My favorite singer, Mandy Harvey, listen to her song Try, which is all about getting up when you fall down. And then realize she's deaf. She sings and sings beautifully and sings professionally, having several albums, continually touring nationally. She's never heard herself sing any of these songs that have been so successful. But she moves forward. The things I do are nothing compared to the people who inspire me. The things I believe that each one of us are creative, capable of in creating joy are astounding. That miracles are not unusual things. They're the things we create in our lives that I have been able to create in my life. Every day, by the simple act of getting up every time I fall, by the simple act of trying, by the simple act of never stopping to search for the next teacher who can bring me forward. To see, when you see someone with joy, who's teaching what's given them joy, it is always worth checking in and asking the question, does this give me joy too? For there's no further sign of a teacher that I can work with to help be a better guru to myself than joy. Not discipline, not fear, but joy. Wishing all of you a joyous life. Namaste.